Hello, everybody. What's up? Dennis Allen here. Super excited about today's podcast, or vlog, I should say, whatever it is. I was on a podcast called The Survival Podcast, and he's been a very big inspiration to me over the years of going from a city boy to a country boy to a homesteader. And this was my first opportunity to be a guest on his show. A few times I've ask questions and things like that, either in call-in questions, but never had a dedicated show with me on it. I am super stoked. This was so much fun. You could check it out at tspc.co or the survivalpodcast.com. Look for Jack Spirko or Survival Podcast on your music players, things like that, or you could just listen here. It's going to be really fun. It was a great interview. I just ended it not too long ago, and I'm super stoked and excited. So check it out. Thank you and enjoy.
Is that better?
Yep, sounds good. Does my mic sound good?
Yeah, you're good.
Good.
All right. So there'll be a pause and I'll introduce you. All right, folks. And with that, hey, Dennis, man, welcome to the Survival Podcast.
Thank you, Jack. Excited to be here today.
Glad to have you on, man. You've been part of this community a really long time. A lot of people in the community do know who you are. A lot of people don't. So let's start off with the who the heck and what the heck is the Dennis Allen question. You're like, how did you get kind of where you are in life? What's your kind of professional background type of thing?
Well, it was a scattered background. I grew up in the hood of Elizabeth, New Jersey, high school dropout. Made my way into the automotive world through junkyards and chop shops of Newark, New Jersey. I eventually found that I was going to be a father, so it really motivated me to change my life, stop the going into jails and getting arrested for fighting, things like that. I got myself into the corporate world of Verizon Wireless, a major cell phone company. I didn't have a high school diploma or college. They required college back then. They still do. But I got my foot in the door via the greeter method. So I was the guy in front of a retail store saying, "Hey, welcome to Verizon. Which way would you like to go? Do you have a phone problem or a sales problem?" With my ability to learn, because the public school, or like you say, the government schools failed me, I had to learn myself. I didn't have any formal training on the business world or anything, but I just pretty much absorbed what other people were doing in my industry, and I kind of, kicked butt doing it. I became the celebrity cell phone guy in New York City. So any celebrities or famous people that needed a cell phone, they'd call me up, and none of that really made me happy. So I was looking for something else, and I found people like you to help me guide my journey along.
So the way you phrase it in your write-up where you applied to be on the show for this episode, you kind of went from like a rags to semi-riches. How did that happen, and why didn't it really make you happy?
Well, like I was saying, growing up poor, my family didn't have much. I remember times when my mother had to not eat so I could eat. She tried to provide what she could for me, but I didn't have any real guidance or anything. I worked hard. I really buckled down. I remember, when I was in my cell phone days, working in Manhattan, my boss would have to yell at me to send me home. And, I just wanted to keep making more and getting bigger and more important. And it was working. I was hanging out with the top celebrities in New York City, and I knew all the CEOs of the cool companies or Sony, people like that. And, none of it really made me happy. My paychecks or the car that I drove or the house that I owned didn't provide any happiness whatsoever. So I pretty much just wanted to flush all that and find my true happiness. Making a lot of money for other people and even for yourself isn't my definition of happiness. I didn't really know what it was, but now I know it's not happiness.
Yeah, you kind of get to a point where you're like, oh, so I've made it. Yay!
Now what?
This is it, huh?
Yeah.
This is success. For me, I was a VP of sales for the same region you're talking about, northeastern region of the United States, for a $500 million company. Right. Big expense account, company car, good salary. Yay! And eventually you're like, this kind of sucks.
Yeah, exactly.
And I mean, some people end up loving it. They feel like, yeah, they really have made it and they enjoy it. And I guess that's good, but for them. But I think for a lot of us, like, you spend your life chasing that. I think maybe the best thing about getting it is so you don't keep chasing it. Right?
Yeah.
Instead of being the donkey with the carrot out in front of you, you actually get the carrot and you're like, yeah, carrots aren't that great.
Yeah. And I always found that the carrot always had to get bigger. You know, every now and then I would grab that carrot, and then there's another carrot ahead of me. Oh, I only have a BMW. I should have something else, or something more and more to keep feeding the system.
Yeah, I totally get that, man. So, what the hell made you start listening to a guy like me? You even came to one of my workshops and all. How did you end up feeling an impetus to go there?
In my travels, real estate was always a big thing on my radar. And my first place was a condo in Jersey City. Jersey City was nothing at the time. It was still poor and undervalued. And I saw the writings on the wall, so I started getting into real estate. I bought that condo, fixed it up as I lived in it. I was looking for another property, and I remember growing up in Elizabeth, my mother, when we got up a little bit better in life, they finally they had a single family house, and it had a little backyard. And I remember my mother and my stepfather gardening every summer and, sticking me out there and turning the soil and everything. And my new house had to have a backyard. So I started, at this time in my career, I wasn't really in Manhattan anymore. I took an early retirement position, managing like 10 people in the telesales department. So it was really easy. Had a lot of time on the computer, and I kind of bypassed corporate security so I could watch YouTube videos. But I started Googling, actually I should say looking up on Google. I don't want to give Google any credit. Things of gardening, like how to garden, best way to garden, what do I do to build soil, things like that. And being from the city and really maybe being camping 2-3 times in my life, I had no idea. So I was just going down the rabbit holes of best way to garden, and that took me to permaculture. So I started researching. I had an hour drive to work every day, so I was looking for a podcast, and there's the survival podcast. And I was never into prepping or guns or anything like that. Being from the city, it's pretty much non-existing. But you talked a lot about fixing your life and getting to a better position, and the permaculture was the way in. I just wanted to learn more, and I didn't come from a really educated background. So the way I learned, like how I did in corporate America, I just immersed myself in the people and the culture. And I was I kind of felt like a little out of place at first, not when I got to your workshop. But I was like, what are these people going to accept me? I'm tattooed up. I got the different look from the normal redneck duck farmer out there. But your community was amazing, and this is why still to this day I listen and I participate, and I love your community. It's been amazing. So pretty much through permaculture I found you. Hello? Did I lose you, Jack? Jack, you're on mute.
All right, so let's move on from there and talk about how you actually did this. So people probably think because you were doing well financially, like you just like saved a bunch of money up and then became like a permaculture land baron or something. But what you did is you ended up quitting your job, selling everything. You moved into an old Airstream and dragged it on 30 acres of raw land in central PA. What was that like?
That was scary. One of my biggest things in life was fear, and I always let fear stop me. So this time I was just going to go balls to the wall and just do it. I quit my job because I knew that even though I had this, early retirement position, still making a lot of money, doing nothing at work, it didn't make me happy. I had more money to take, one or two vacations out of the year, but I still had 50 weeks of just misery in the corporate world. So I quit my job and I started looking for other ways to make money. And the biggest thing in the beginning was to save money. So, I'm living in Jersey City, lower Manhattan views and everything. And I would be the guy in my, 3 blankets in the middle of the winter, seeing how low I could get my energy bill down. I want to save and save. And so I kind of made it like a game, ways to, I guess, put myself into a comfortable homeless position. I did have the real estate, which was always my, retirement plan. But I noticed that the Jersey City market had been so overinflated. I mean, the prices are crazy now in Jersey City. Starting to go down now because of COVID, but at the time it was at such a height. I decided to sell my condo and take that money, the profit from there, and buy some land out in the country somewhere. Started looking around through Airbnb. I found a homestead in the central Pennsylvania area. It wasn't really what I was looking. I was looking in other areas that don't have building codes, things like that. But I did find an amazing community. I found a homestead on Airbnb. I stayed there, and just from that experience, I started to get to know the community. And it was a piece of property that had been cut off of someone's farm just because it was so beautiful, and some people got married there. That deal fell through, so I jumped right in. I loved it so much. I came out here at first just camping on the weekends to slowly build a new life. And before I knew it, I was selling my big house, and because the amount of money they wanted to give me, I was like, oh, what? So I cashed out, and like I said, I bought an old Airstream, and here I am now just trying to build an off-grid homestead. And I'm pretty happy with the Airstream. So it's been about 4 years now, and haven't built a house yet, but I'm living like a king. I'm enjoying every single day of my life.
That's awesome, man. It really is. Can you talk a little bit about maybe any regrets or mistakes on how you did it? Like, that was a pretty aggressive plan. Would you have done it a little differently?
So regret is one of those things that would kind of push me into this new life. I saw my grandfather die. I saw other people in my family go through life, make $1 million, and then just lose it all on getting sick, or you die and you can't take it with you. So regret was one thing that it actually kind of fueled me to make this. And I'm used to making mistakes. I've been in jail before, and I've flunked every test, and I've messed up so many times. So I look at all my mistakes as learning experiences. It's one of the ways that I learn. I told my sales reps in my old days that it's only a mistake if you don't learn from it. If it's a mistake, it's a learning experience. So would I have just bought raw land? I mean, I had to spend almost $12,000 on just building a road to get way to where I wanted to build a house. So there are some obstacles, but overall, I think that the regret is not something I want to deal with. So every mistake that I make, I just move on. I try to look at the positive side of it, and I go on. I just take what life gives me, and I make lemonade.
Yeah, I think that it's almost, unless you have a specific, like, I tried to build this thing and I used this material and it exploded. Mm-hmm. Like, it almost doesn't matter that you would do something differently. Of course you would do something differently. And like you said, fear often gets in the way, and so many people are worried about, well, I'll make a mistake. Yeah, you will. Right? And I'll tell you that the secret is tomorrow you're going to make a couple of mistakes. Yes. Whether you go for it in your life or you don't, whatever you do, you're going to screw some shit up. Like humans, that's what we do. We're fallible. We screwed stuff up. If we didn't screw anything up, there'd be a lot less need of insurance in the world, right? Yeah. So just like at some point, you got to get to that line. You got to jump and you got to take a shot at it. Mm-hmm.
And I am going slow on like the level 1 mistakes. Like you taught me, and Jeff Walton. You don't want to put the house in the wrong spot. When I was looking for property, I had a lot of checklists that I had to go through, like south-facing hill. I mean, that was one of the hardest ones, and this had it. So I've learned, luckily, prior to building a house, not to put a house on a north-facing hill. I have neighbors down the street that they have ice up into March. And, the first sunny day on my hill, I'm like, oh, this is nice. I have sun and everything's melted. So try to avoid the level 1 mistakes, but, work with the other ones and learn from them.
Yeah, absolutely. What advice would you give listeners who are still stuck in the city? Like, is it worth it to get out? Does your life actually improve? Do you think it can help at least some people find happiness to separate themselves from this, what I consider to be a fairly unnatural way for people to live?
That's one of the biggest reasons why I'm doing things like a YouTube channel and coming on podcasts like yours and just trying to spread the word, because my whole life, all my friends are, most of them actually, some of them are starting to move over. They're stuck in the city, and it's a regret thing, a fear that I wake up in the middle of the night just thinking like, oh shit, am I still in Jersey City? Do I have to go to work tomorrow? So I would say get out there. If you're in New York City, I'm 3-4 hours away from New York City. Come out here, get to know farmers, get to know the people in the areas that you'd like to retire to. I was, before actually picking Pennsylvania, I was thinking of either somewhere far or somewhere close, because I still want to be near my daughter. I have a 21-year-old daughter still stuck in the city, unfortunately. But I wanted to be somewhere close. Pennsylvania, as you know, isn't the most freedom loving state out there. But hey, I will take it over New Jersey and New York any day. So really try to figure out what state and what area is really gonna fit your needs. I still kind of have that New York City kid in me, but I thought that I'd still be going out there, but especially now with COVID, I don't even want to go there. It's like an apocalyptic movie or something. It's really weird and depressing. People with masks on everywhere, and nobody looks at each other. It's a really sad life now, and I'm sure people are going through depression and all kind of problems in the city. So really just get out there, visit where you would like to. Think of it as a retirement. I mean, I thought of it as I'm going to retire one day. Might as well put myself in that position and work until I could get to that point. And, there's a lot of farmers out there that are getting old and don't want to keep farming. The guy who bought the farm, my section of the farm from, he still has about 150 acres for organic beef and cheese cows. He would love, especially from somebody from this community, to come out here, learn his industry, maybe, build a little house for him and take over his farm. Because the biggest fear that farmers out here have is they're going to die, their kids are going to sell the land, and it's going to go to development. Luckily, we have Amish here, so that really doesn't have that much of an opportunity. But, there's so much opportunity. Like, I'm out here every day, and I'm like, boy, you know what? If I didn't have a way to support myself, I could just do this or I could do that. And there's a lot of people out there to help me, help you, help the people in the city. I'm willing to help people. Your podcast helps thousands of people every year. So there are avenues. Just get out there. Don't be scared. I have campsites on my property. Come camping. Spend a weekend with me. I have 30 acres. I could build you a little tiny home and, have you live there until you learn and build something of your own. So don't let fear and regret stop you. Get out of the city, maybe go to Florida if that's what you want, or Puerto Rico. I'm still trying to get a little spot in Puerto Rico to spend my winters, hopefully. We'll see.
Yeah, I think the idea of putting a toe in the water is not a terrible idea. Like, completely altering your life is enough. You don't necessarily need to go straight into homesteading on your own or building a house or whatever. Like you started out, you did Airbnb for a while. You went out and lived the life and said, hey, is this really what I want to do?
Right. Yep.
And what parts of it do I want to do, and what parts of it that I don't want to do? Because I've seen so many people get into homesteading. They get a piece of land. Their house isn't even completed. They have chickens. They have ducks. They have a cow. They have goats. Goats make your life miserable when you know what you're doing. They have rabbits. They have quail. And in about 1 year, they're like, screw this, and they're done. And I think for some people, getting that piece of land right away, that works. Some people, though, I think, like taking this toe-in-the-water approach may be a great idea, and give that there's a lot of talk right now, the Great Reset. Totally. Resets in of themselves aren't bad. Like, mental reset, to get that mental reset to figure out, like, what do you really want to do? Is this really what I want to do? And is this really how I want to do it? Or are there parts of this that really are going to work for me? And are there other parts of this that I need to stay the hell away from?
Exactly, yeah. I mean, my goal for the first couple of years was just to come out here on the weekends and slowly build it, but I got hooked on it like a junkie, and I bought an Airstream and parked it, and I'll figure out the rest.
And there's something to be said for that, too, because you put your life in a position where, hey, maybe I don't have everything I want, but what I have is mine.
Right.
And I don't have to worry about losing it. So if I don't have to worry about losing what I have, all I have to worry about is getting more of what I want. That's a really strong position to be in life.
Yeah, it's very empowering. Very empowering. That's freedom, to have the ability to do what you want for the most part.
So what are you doing now? Like, what are your kind of the steps you've taken since all this happened, and what have you established?
Well, my goal was to come out here, and I have a couple PDCs. I have one from Jeff Lawton. Thanks for the discount from your membership team there. I also took the Perma Ethos one that you were sponsoring for a while, and my plan is to, with the south facing hill, cut out swales and ponds and animals, and have a couple of tiny homes for people, kind of like a Paul Wheaton kind of place, maybe not as crazy and loosey-goosey.
Yeah.
But I would like it to be a place where people could learn and teach, like, what you do, have a workshop every year or two, and, have people come in and spread the love, spread the knowledge that I've accumulated through my journey, because my journey is definitely different from anybody else's. So maybe I can't reach somebody as well as you can, but the same thing with you, you're not going to be able to reach the same people as I can. So I want my land to be open to public. I have campsites on it now, which is just doing amazing. That wasn't even a part of my plan. Another thing, be flexible. I ended up with a coffee shop. Who would have thought? I mean, I was never in the coffee business. I do like drinking coffee. I was spending a lot of time in this, community hub. And I ended up buying it. Not part of the plan, but the cards fall where they may. And you know what? Homesteading isn't my number one. Actually, it still is my number one source of income. But having the coffee shop has been a great addition to my homestead. I really miss being able to just go outside of my porch, pop open a beer or a bottle of wine, and 10 minutes later have 10 neighbors around me. So it's hard to do that when you're surrounded by Amish farms and cows. So I bought the cafe. I started an ice cream shop, in the middle of this COVID thing. I was not going to let COVID shut me down or stop me from doing anything. It's a great time, I think, to excel, because other places are just terrified, of opening. We have a very popular, nice brewery kind of next to my coffee shop, and they're shutting themselves down all the time. They're going beyond what, even our master governor says. In a community of 900 people, we have a big community of Penn State people about 30 minutes away in Bucknell on the other side, but because those are the only two areas that even have police, there's nobody to enforce this. There's a winery down the street.
Like, people have been so controlled.
Mm-hmm.
They're willing to follow a law that they disagree with, where there's zero consequence to not following the law. Right?
Yeah.
It's nuts. Every time I bring this up, people claim that I'm supporting blowing people up or something. You can point out that somebody has a point, even if some of the things they do are wrong. Yeah. Ted Kaczynski, the Unabomber, in his manifesto, talked about this level of control that people would allow over themselves, specifically with technology. But it doesn't really matter where it comes from. And the example was that a person could sit at a red light with nobody in sight, where you could see, not only can you see, but you'd see headlights, right? And you're sitting at a four-way in the middle of the night, 3 o'clock in the morning, and you could see a half mile in all directions, and that person will sit there, and they will wait for that light to turn green before they go. And if we allow that, and this is, in the 70s, 80s, he wrote this whole manifesto somewhere in that time frame, that if we allowed this to continue, we would become people completely controlled by technology. Now, I'm not for mailing people letter bombs or nothing to make your point, but boy, that point seems to be so valid in with what you just said. Like, you won't open your brewery when, look, if everybody's closed and you're open, last time I checked, that was good for business.
Business has been great. I mean, literally, we are up 4% year over year.
It's amazing what happens when you're the only game in town. You're successful,
and we've been changing, bending with things, doing a lot of online ordering, and move with the punches. That's what you got to do in any business. Sure.
What's next in your journey? Where are you going next with all this?
I'm working on other things that to do with the coffee shop. I have a coffee source. It's called Ingle Blend, and what it is, I'm trying to source local coffee from other local roasters in the area, not in the area, in the country. I'm trying to get Nicole Sauce to do maybe a hollow roast for us, but we're trying to showcase local coffee shops, have them blend their version of what their essence of the coffee shop is, and then having one source. So I'm trying to move on that, promote that more of like an online business, writing a book. I'm trying to share my story with everybody. Hopefully, some people are readers. I'm not really a big reader, and one of my customers in the coffee shop, she's an author, and she said, you know what, just write it. Like, if nobody reads it, who cares? And nowadays with printing books and things like that, and self-publishing is so easy. Try it. It won't hurt. Like you said, it's always good to have it on your resume. I'm a published book writer. Doing the Earthship. My goal for a house is an Earthship. So that's a little unconventional building, and so I'm looking to have workshops at my place, bring in experts, because I'm not an expert at building. I know my limitations, but if I bring in an expert, Earthship builder or something like that, it'll increase my ability to build my home quicker, get more people involved in it, build a community. So things like that, writing a book, still got to build a house. I just got running water the other day, so that's pretty exciting. I had a well dug on top of the hill, and now I'm slowly digging out trenches and things like that. So my life is literally an open book, and I don't care which direction it goes, as long as it finds my own happiness, and I can feed myself and have an abundance of food and happiness on my property. That's where I want to go in life.
With all you're trying to do, is there any way that the TSP community can be of help to you?
Yeah, they have been extremely supportive. Like one of the reasons why I started my YouTube channel, Dennis Allen, City Boy Homesteader, was because I would watch other videos in my corporate days, and I would read the comments, and it's, you have somebody building a house or building a deck or something, and they think they're doing it right, but the comments below, like, hey, I'm a builder, I'm an engineer, you could do it this way. I was like, wow, look at all the free resource. So my videos and my YouTube channel are pretty much of just like, hey, City Boy Homesteader here, get it, it's in the title, not sure what I'm doing. But, this is what I'm trying to do, trying to, gather information. So people in your community have been great. One guy actually from my videos, he came out, he was essentially in Pennsylvania. He came out, helped me design a roof for my shipping container workshop. I have another customer here that found me through your Facebook, now MeWe blog. Triple D Homestead, Dan, awesome guy. He reached out to me. He's like, hey, I heard you ask a question on one of Jack's shows and just want to introduce myself. I was like, wow, that's so cool. And now he's somebody else that's following, your guidance and your teachings. He's selling chickens, and he's already got a customer from your podcast. I'm selling his locally raised, organic, happy chickens in my coffee shop now.
That's a great point, too, about getting advice from doing YouTube videos that can actually be very beneficial. For every moron that has to tell you you're stupid and now you're going to die because you bought the wrong water filter or whatever,
right.
There's a helpful person, right? Here's an example of me. I mean, I know a lot about a lot of shit, but there's still plenty of, you can only know so much about so many things.
Exactly.
So I don't know a lot about roofing. I really don't. I mean, I know you got a roof, and then hopefully it doesn't fall on your head, and you don't want water to come in.
Right.
I had no idea that there was like a cutoff on pitch, as far as how much pitch there is on the roof, for where you go from shingles to rolled roofing. And I'm from where you're at now. I'm not from Texas. I'm from Pennsylvania.
Right.
Well, in Pennsylvania, you don't build a fucking flat roof.
No.
Because then it fills up with snow and it collapses. So this has never come up in any of the like DIY projects I did with my dad or anything. It was always enough pitch to use shingles. So I put this outdoor kitchen in a couple of years ago, and the contractor threw shingles up on the roof. And I don't remember who, but somebody watching YouTube video says, "Oh, no, tell them to pull that shit off there right now." I can't see for sure, but I don't think there's any way there's enough pitch on that roof that you should be using shingles. You need rolled roofing on that. Basically, it needs to be like a pond liner roof, covered. So I go to the lead contractor, and he acts like he doesn't know what the hell I'm talking about. And so I look up the specs and all, and they ended up eating it. They pulled all the shingles off, and they replaced it with rolled roof.
Nice.
I would have never known.
Until it started leaking.
Until it started, there was a problem. And, contractors, we found a good one now, but this particular one did a great job, but they also immediately disappeared. Like, we contacted them, not to bitch, but to give them more work, and they were gone. Wow. So even in the best circumstances, you can not have people. You want things, like when you sign off and you write the final check, you want it done. You do not want to have to get that person back. Nice when you can if you need to, but you don't want to rely on it. But the only option I would have had once I figured this out sooner or later would have been to call another roofing company, come in and have them tear the roof off and replace it and pay for it twice. Yeah. So one comment on YouTube saved me a couple grand. Yeah. Yep. Even if it's wrong, you don't know that you have to even explore that option, and look what happens. I mean, don't get me wrong. There's a lot of, if you're doing stuff like this, you're an idiot. You don't know it. And I won't say the comment that I post to these people now, but it has something to do with pleasuring yourself to a certain type of online entertainment, and maybe with taking your time off of doing that to make that valuable comment, because I can't deal with these people no more. It's so sad. Yeah, but your community's been great. I mean, you have great listeners, and they're very helpful. So helpful. It's amazing. I'm so glad I got involved with you guys. Is there anything though that like people listening today that say that they want to maybe give you some assistance could be doing for you? Engleblend.com. Buy coffee. If you have any other roasters that you know of, hook me up with them. I'm trying to build this website out. DennisAllen.com. You could sign up for my emails. The book I'm writing is pretty much my story. Growing up in the hood and dealing with like mafia, just like so many crazy things I've done in my life. I'm going to be pretty much just putting it all out there on the YouTube for free, on my blog for free. I mean, you won't be able to get the whole book for free, but every word in there will be in there. So if you don't have the money, you could still follow the story. But yeah, maybe I'll come back one day when the book's done. I have a couple chapters done now, and it's been really exciting. It's so much fun writing the book, because I'm reliving my life. Maybe every now and then I'll tell my daughter a story, but sitting down and just writing down every single thing in my life, it's so beautiful. It's a lot of fun. I would suggest everybody do it, even if you're not going to publish it. I think that's great advice. I have a book will eventually be coming out, fully written, and a lot of it is autobiographical, woven into the concept of laws of life, and I found it very therapeutic. I also found a lot of moments where I'm like, I forgot I knew that, right? Like you realize what you know, and then you can actually use it, because it's like it's stored in a computer somewhere, and there's some long file system to get there, and until something comes up that requires it, you don't know that it's there. And that's fine when it's obvious that you need something. Then you access, C drive, drill down, fine. But like sometimes recovering that, you're like, oh yeah, and they actually causes you to have new ideas of what you can do. So you're not calling on that deep memory on demand. You're using that deep memory to create something new. Yeah, it's great. It's really great. It's very helpful too. I'm learning of mistakes I've made in the past. So I was like, oh shoot, I don't want to do that one again. How many episodes of your podcast have you done now? My podcast, my podcast is kind of turning into, it's called A Cup of Joe with Joe. It's a local
podcast of what's going on in the Valley. So now they named it twice, Penns Valley, Pennsylvania. So I'm doing them every week. You know, it's not maybe for your listeners because it's pretty much what's going on in Pennsylvania. It's kind of fun because, you know, the crazy stuff going on in a small community. My YouTube videos, I had a YouTube account since like 2004, I think. And just until I recently bought the homestead, I've been posting a lot of videos. So I'm not doing it to really make a living out of it, but it is nice when YouTube sends me a check for $500 every now and then. So I'll definitely take that.
Yeah. So,
but I am doing a lot of those videos.
You also kind of set up a music arena. Has COVID put the kibosh on that?
Yeah. We had Quarry Fest. We had 4 of them already. The first one wasn't really a music festival, but I mean 4 successful music festivals. You know, the land I had purchased, it had an old abandoned rock quarry on it, about an acre, 2 acres in size, maybe an acre and a half in size, full of trash. We used the trash to build a road, and with the big hole in the ground, we put a stage up there and said, hey, you know, let's try this. So far we've had a bunch of music festivals, and it's all been for charity, where there's a bunch of great organizations in town that, you know, focus on small community charities. We're not donating to Red Cross or anything like that. You know,
sure.
We want to make sure we know where the money's going to, not to see CEO's helicopter. But it has, this year we didn't do it, I think mainly because there's so many other things I'm doing on my plate right now. But we are going to definitely do more. It's really fun. It's a great space. The acoustics are amazing, and I could even see that turn into something more once people are you know, willing to go out. You know, movies, we're probably going to be doing a movie pretty soon in the quarry. You know, setting up a stage, this way people could still socially distance if they want. If they don't want, well, we'll keep partying like we always do.
Well, I mean, and I guess an outside venue too, so that should help.
Right.
I kind of feel like we have to end this ourselves.
Yes.
Like, as bad as the PA governor is, there's worse governors with this.
Mm-hmm.
PA governor's pretty bad.
Yeah.
But, you know, like Whitmer and Inslee and all, these people are going, and Newsom, they're going like full Nazi on this right now.
It's so
this
scary.
late in the game.
Mm-hmm.
And I just think there has to be a point where we as a society say, you know what, no. Wear your mask. No.
Mm-hmm.
Close your business. No.
Right.
Make me. And I think when it's one person, it's really easy. Like, it's one person, it's really easy to target that person, and it's been done.
Right.
I think if the majority of small business owners who believe, like, I don't even care about the ones that don't believe, that believe they have a right to open, the majority of that group alone tomorrow just said, you know what? We're done. We're opening. We're open for business. Come on in. We're not doing any of this nonsense. If you're sick, please stay home. Otherwise, we're open for business.
Yeah.
I don't think they could do the square root of F all about it.
Especially in my community. I mean, like I said, we don't even have police. I mean, they're not going to send a state trooper down for something like that to, you know, do something silly like that.
And if they do, I mean, really, like, what it makes me think of, I know Pennsylvania. I know rural Pennsylvania.
Mm-hmm.
And we used to have this big thing every year called the Blackwood Buggy Festival. And it was like, it started out years and years before I was even around. And it was just this, like, you know, four-wheeling off-road thing that was totally informal. And it was just this weekend. It's like, you know, Friday through Monday type weekend. In the middle of summer, this thing happens. And, I mean, there was underage kids drinking. I'm not advocating that this was a good thing, but it was what it was.
Yeah.
And there was plenty of, you know, illicit activity going on. This was like four-wheeling redneck Pennsylvania version of Woodstock without the concert, right?
Nice.
And I remember one time we're sitting and we see a state cop comes, you know, it's very slowly rolling in with his patrol car because he didn't want to rip his undercarriage out. He kind of gets to the point where you can see what's going on, does a 3-point turn and leaves.
That's great.
Because what are you going to do?
Yeah.
Right? There's 40,000 people there. You're one cop.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I could hear him say it in my mind now, going, I don't get paid enough for this shit.
Yeah.
Because somebody probably somewhere, some Karen, we didn't call them back Karens back then, but some Karen probably called. He probably went out there, what am I supposed to do?
Yeah.
What am I going to do? What am I going to start walking around and asking for IDs?
Mm-hmm.
Like, and that was actually like something actually going on that you could make a case maybe shouldn't have been, and at least some of it I can say.
Right.
You know, a guy opening an ice cream shop or a music venue or a barber shop or a pub. Like, isn't there a point where the average cop, not all the cops, like if you're like, this is why we're on today about Get Out, right?
Yep.
We're not talking about Minneapolis. We're not talking about Chicago. We're not talking about Seattle.
Mm-hmm.
You get outside of these places, I think the average cop is just as disgusted with this as we are.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. They're people too.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
And they have bigger things bigger fish to fry when people are saying defund the police and things like that. I mean, I've been very left-leaning my whole life, but it's crazy where the left is. I mean, they want to defund the police and then call the police on you. It's just like, none of it makes any sense. And like, I think it's just control.
That is ironic, isn't it? As soon as they get their ass beat or something, they start screaming for the cops.
Call the police. Just don't pay them. Yeah. It's crazy.
My favorite one is when they start screaming, medic, medic, like they're in a war movie or something.
I saw that. I saw one like that.
What are you doing? What do you think? They're just they're kick a table and there's a medic's going to crawl out and come? I mean, did you set up medics? No. Guess what? You don't have any.
Yeah.
Like it's amazing to me, but I think that we are starting to see a major bifurcation in this country, and everybody wants to call it like a north and south divide or whatever. I think it's a rural-urban divide.
I could see that. I could definitely see that.
Because I think you can go to Maine, and I can show you this divide inside of Maine. There's not many places in America more north than Maine, at least in the continental U.S., and I can show you this in SoCal. Mm-hmm. I can show you this in Florida. I can show you, people think, well, Texas, right? Texas, you do it right. We got a lot of stupid people here. You know where they live? I tell you where they live. They live in Dallas. They live in Austin. They live in Houston. They live in San Antonio.
Yeah, probably came from New York.
They live in Fort Worth.
Yeah.
And it's the further you get away from those places, they're not gone. Their concentration goes down.
Yeah.
Right? Like common sense goes up and stupidity goes down.
Mm-hmm.
And the impetus I've been giving people lately, get out, right, is I think that what you did is actually not that hard to do. Now, you may differ because you had to just go through the challenges, but in the end, you just did it, right? Yeah. I think the difficulty level and the cost to do this is going to go up. And I also think because of that, people like you, they're like, I got 30 acres. I would kind of like to have people to hang out with. Mm-hmm. I'm open to putting in like a little tiny house community or something. Hell, I'm thinking about doing it on 3. Mm-hmm. Our position is only going to get stronger.
Absolutely.
Because as people seek exodus, right,
mm-hmm.
well, the cost of exodus is going to go up exponentially. And so you end up in control of a fairly valuable commodity,
mm-hmm.
a place the hell away from all this insanity.
Yeah. And I'm already seeing that. I mean, I've offered my campsites from day one. There's a couple people every now and then. We're near a big sports camp. But now it's like every single weekend, even now that it's freezing, people are coming out. I'm from Pittsburgh. I just got to get out of there. I just want to be in the woods by myself.
This year for our workshop, we sold out in minutes.
Yeah.
Not tens of minutes, singles of minutes. And then I was going through and going, okay, this is a couple. They're together. This guy's not bringing a car. I can add some. And I'd add 5 or 10 and then evaluate it again. As quick as I could add them, they were selling out. I was getting angry emails and stuff. I ended up with 48 people on a wait list.
Wow.
Within 1 hour of going on sale. Now, I'd sold out, 30 minutes, 25 minutes before in the past, but this was insane. And I think it's exactly what you said. People were like, I got to get the hell out of this.
Yep.
I got to go. And I had so many people say, I am so grateful that I got to be around these people. That people always feel that way. But this year, people are craving that. Now, the entrepreneur in us should be saying, how do I tie into this? Oh. Because there's all this COVID shit, even like when Fort Worth, Tarrant County was doing it, I'm technically in Tarrant County, it didn't really apply here.
Right.
Like I called the local sheriff deputy that I have a contact with. Always be in good contact with your local law enforcement no matter how you feel about the state.
Yep.
It's just common sense. Mm-hmm. And I said, I'm fixing to have 80 people here. He said, well, have fun.
Wow.
I'm like, what are you guys going to do anything? He said, we might come by and visit if somebody bitches, but we're not going to do anything.
Yeah.
Now, I guarantee you, if I did what I just did in downtown Fort Worth, would have come and shut us down.
Absolutely. Yep.
So the strategic location, strategic relocation is what we're talking about. Yeah. For years, strategic relocation was preached by people about getting out of this country.
Mm-hmm.
Go to this foreign country and live the nomad lifestyle like Tim Ferriss or whatever. And I've always said of that, I don't feel comfortable with that. I'm not a blind patriot or anything, but man, I've been to some places elsewhere in the world, and there is some advantages financially to this. I mean, I could put $65,000 a year in my pocket by moving to Costa Rica tomorrow.
In taxes?
But a lot of these in taxes, I could put $65,000 back into my income stream by living in Costa Rica tomorrow. However, you want lockdowns? You know what I mean? Like the lockdowns in a lot of these countries people fled to far exceed what we're doing in the United States. Like if you went to Sweden, which who the hell went to Sweden for financial reasons with their tax rate? Like that was like all of a sudden like, hey, you're a genius because you went to Sweden. Like that's about the only place where you really kind of got around this. Even Belarus that held out for a while, they eventually crumbled to the World Economic Forum and Monetary Fund, the IMF, who said, we'll give you money, but you got to reverse all this. And now they have like Nazi lockdowns.
Same thing they're doing to us.
Yeah, and our country, though, we still have ways out of this.
Mm-hmm.
You know, even, like, I guarantee you, Inslee can talk all the shit he wants in Washington. Mm-hmm. You get outside of Seattle and what have you, the lockdown applies, but people ain't doing it.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And that's something we have with freedom of movement in this country, if we keep it, that's really advantageous. As entrepreneurs, though, we should be thinking, like, well, if they're going to keep doing shit like this, how do we position ourselves so that we are a solution to people that don't want to go along with it?
Exactly, yeah. Mm-hmm.
I will give you one piece of advice on the whole tiny houses and all.
Yes.
If you ever do that and you take on tenants, you need to run it through like an Airbnb or a hip camper.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Because Brian Norton was on, and he converted his garage into, he's the other coffee roaster they got out in Washington. He's probably worth you tying in with. Anyway, he said that he was renting his garage apartment to a guy. He didn't pay his rent, started having some problems with him. It took him 90 days to get him out.
Yeah.
And he called, the cop came and said he's a tenant. You got to go through court system, whatever.
Yep.
He said if he was here on Airbnb, I would have grabbed him by the neck and threw him into the street. And so I don't want people grabbed by the neck and thrown into the street, but if somebody needs it, I want to be able to do it. And so for a lot of people listening to this, I never really understood the extreme value of that type of arrangement, but I do now because you're not a tenant, you're a resident at a hotel basically, and you can get thrown out of a hotel real fast.
Yeah, it's very easy. I had an Airbnb guest in Jersey City that was getting a little out of control, and I mean, luckily he was there for like a month paying, but I just literally screwed the door shut. I'm like, you don't live here. Like he called the police. And I'm like, he doesn't live here. I just kind of ignored the whole complaint. And I was like, and finally, I let him get his stuff out and leave. Have a nice day, buddy.
Awesome. That's awesome. That's awesome.
And I am using services like HipCamp. HipCamp is the biggest one. I was using another company that wasn't that great. But HipCamp I tell people it's the Airbnb of camping. So my thing is, I don't want residencies even. If I just do like little cabins so they're not official residencies, I could, put up, I think, 12 of them before I need septic system and things like that. So as long as there's little campsites, glamping, with a bed and, other things like that, it makes it a lot easier to get by all the restrictions and permits and things like that.
Final question for you then, as you look at all this. On a scale of 1 to 10, how satisfied are you with your decision to get out of the city?
I just recently posted a video of me crying in joy because I was working in my little workshop there, and I don't know, I was just thinking about my old life, and I could have had to go back to work Monday or an appointment or a meeting or sales call or something like that. And I literally just started crying because I was so happy, Jack. I mean, my life, my happiness is through the roof. I don't even want to give a 1 to 10. It's like a new life. It's freeing to not have to go into a job. And it's so easy to make some money. If you're not buying $200 jeans or this, or even, junk that you don't need, junk food, or, everybody could reduce their life. I mean, I was making good money, and I made it a game to spend nothing. So I lived like a pauper, which kind of gave me the confidence to quit my job, because, you know what, I'm doing it now, and I'm happy. I'm happier because I don't have to worry about all these bills. And then so I slowly transitioned, and the happiness it's really through the roof. And I thank you and your community from the bottom of my heart, Jack. Seriously, you've been such a great inspiration to making this all happen.
I think maybe everybody should go through something like that in their life, to where they get down to a point where they don't really have very much and they do okay, because it takes away all fear.
I have it written on my arm in a tattoo. You have to lose to know how to win.
Yeah. I mean, I remember sleeping in my car. I remember the first time I really kind of went on like a wilderness survival course, where you lived in the woods for a week. After that, you're like, well, not exactly how I want to live,
but you can do it.
I can do it.
Right?
So, like, take everything from me.
Yeah.
And I'm still okay.
Yeah.
And I it's very hard to be afraid when you think that way. It's very hard to be afraid, because you're like, well, I'm not going to lose everything, so I'll have something, so I'll have more than that. So I was okay then, I'll be okay now. And I think maybe everybody should go through that. And a lot of people do, and they forget.
Yeah.
It's like, if you have been through something like that and you find yourself clinging with attachment, like, mentally go back to that point. And maybe you don't want to go physically back to that point where you're that far down, but you know what? The fact that you did should take away, like, you'll be better at it this time. Like, if you do something once, you should be better the second time around. Yeah. Unless you're my wife giving me a haircut, then apparently it gets worse every time. But otherwise, generally, we get better the more often we do things. So
even sorry.
Go ahead.
Even with cutting hair, I've been cutting my hair for even when I was in corporate, wearing $2,000 suits. I just thought it was ridiculous to pay $50 a month on cutting hair. So I cut my own hair now, and just save even more money. Awesome, man.
Well, I'll make sure that links to your coffee shop, your ice cream shop, your secondhand store, your YouTube channel, your podcast, everything. I'll make sure all of that is in the show notes.
Thank you so much.
And I appreciate you spending some time with us today.
Really appreciate it again, Jack. Thank you so much from the bottom of my heart. You guys are great over there. And tell Dorothy I said hi.
All right, that'll do it, man. I'm going to eat lunch, and then I'm going to do editing, and then this will be live, I would say no later than 1:30 p.m., or I'd say 2:30 p.m. Central.
I'm looking forward to it, that's for sure. And
all right, man.
I've been recording on video, just me talking and listening to you. Can I post the same thing on my YouTube channel, or?
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, you're awesome.
No problem.
Cool. Thank you so much, Jack.
All right, man. Take care.
I'll see you soon. Bye.
Bye.
Wow, that was so amazing, man. I feel so awesome. Jack, really, you have been such an inspiration in my life, and I just hope that I could pay this forward to other people, hence the YouTube channel, and hence all the crazy stuff I'm doing in my life. Thank you for all Jack's followers and listeners and subscribers and all that fun stuff, all the guys that I did the workshops with, and all the people that are going to come out to my workshops in the future. So thank you so much. DennisAllen.com you could sign up for my email list. Stay tuned for a book. Should be good. All right. Thank you very much. See y'all later. Dennis Allen out.
You pull yourself up, they keep bringing you down. Are they gonna bail you out or just run you around? They said you should have a house the American way. $1 down, $1 a month, and you'll never have to pay. There's a better way to do this. Let me show you a better way. You don't have to be another face in Sometimes we forget we are what we eat. I don't know the answer. It's like there's nothing I can do. It's the price we pay, I guess, when we follow all the rules. There's a better way to do this. Let me show you a better way. You don't have to be another face in the crowd. You don't have to live the way they tell you to. Make your own way and the others will follow. Revolution is you. Revolution is you. Someday we'll realize our children just can't pay, 'cause nobody up there cares. They're living